right, so lots of options for what you can do with Formative, but we want to make sure that you get the basics to feel very confident heading out of here and creating and assigning Formative. So we will be covering today your classes, how can we find them, and syncing them with Google Classroom. If you would like to add co-teachers, we'll do that as well. We're going to be creating a Formative, choosing some select question types, setting answer keys, and then you will be taking a Formative so you can see it through your students' eyes and what they might encounter. Acting on results, how do you assign it, and then how do you view the live responses as they come in? We can send feedback, we can view the data right in real time and act on it that way. And then collaborating, I need to show you where your private library is because your coordinators are going to be pushing out some common assessments through that library. So to get started today, I would love for you to please go to formative.com, and it can be either GoFormative or formative.com. We have recently had a domain change. So GoFormative or formative.com, and you're going to click on the login button, and you'll be using single sign-on with Google. If you are a teacher with students, you have a class assigned to you, your classes have already been made, your account has already been made, you should be able to just go there and click login, sign in with Google. If you are a specialist of sorts, someone who does not have classes or students assigned to them, there is a chance that you will not have an account created for you, in which case you just need to put your first name, last name, email, and school in the chat, and Jill will create that account for you. Again, if you have students, you have classes with students, log in, sign in with Google. If you do not have students assigned to you with classes, first name, last name, email, and school in the chat, and Jill will get that set up for you. All right, so when you first sign in, if it's the first time you've ever signed in, your screen probably does not look like this. If you have signed in before, your screen should look like this without all of my content. If you have never signed in before, you're probably looking at this screen here. If that's the case, you can just click the back button to get back to that dashboard, and that's where we're going to start today. So if you are looking at this screen right here, just click this little back button. And you should get to the dashboard. I do see a note in the chat that says there's a block from the district. Is anyone else getting?
Yeah, I'm getting a block.
Nice.
I went to Formative first, but GoFormative is the one that opened for me.
Yeah, GoFormative.com opened for me. So our district has probably not unblocked just the regular Formative.
I signed in through my class link and it went in just fine. So you may be able to try class link.
Yeah, you can try. Yeah, you can try. We did roster you all with ClassLink. I just know that you have Google emails, so that's why I said you may want to just use that single sign-on with Google. Either way should work, but it looks like for Berkeley, we need to stick to GoFormative.com, and I'll get with your tech people afterwards to make sure that they know we need to whitelist Formative.com also. Perfect. So Chrissy is saying that ClassLink is working. So try using ClassLink if you're having trouble with just signing in with Google. They do both. Because you have the Google emails, it should work. Your students are going to sign in with ClassLink. All right, so I want to make sure everyone knows how to get to this screen here. If you sign in and you're looking at this screen, you just need to click this back arrow and it will take you to the dashboard. All right, so hopefully everybody is getting in or is close to getting in. We are going to start today with the classes tab, and this is something that you can absolutely do on your time, or you can do it with me now. But you're going to see across the top here that we have formatives, classes, tracker, and library. If you're an administrator, you will also have that admin tab, but these are the 4 tabs that we're going to be looking at today. Right here, we're going to click on the classes tab. With the classes tab, you should already have your classes set up for you, right? Your classes have been set up for you through ClassLink. If you do not have these tabs, chances are good that you have a student account, which means that you may have had one previously, and you can just give us your email in the chat and Jill can change that for you. And Raven, I forgot I have Raven too. I have Jill and Raven here today. So if you do not see these. Oh, I'm sorry, I just muted someone. Go ahead.
I have several classes on my in the classes area.
Mhm.
Some of them are classes for this year, but some of them are for classes for a school where I'm coming from.
Ah, okay. So let's talk about that. If you have classes on your dashboard that you don't want or do not need, what you can do is click right next to the class. And then at the bottom, you'll see an option to archive that class. And that will clean up your dashboard for you. So if you click next to the class at the bottom, you're going to see a pop-up and you can click archive. It does not delete the class. It doesn't delete the students or data. All it does is move it to the little secret archive location. And if you ever do need to bring it back, you can click show archived at the top right. Now, my understanding is that many of you do use Google Classroom. Is that correct? Right, so if you're using Google Classroom, you are going to want to do a Google Classroom sync. The reason for this is because if you want to assign and post to Google and do grade pass back with Google, you need to do a Google Classroom sync. I want to say that one more time so you can decide. If you want to be able to assign and post your formative straight to Google Classroom, or if you want to do a Google Classroom grade pass back, you are going to want to use this option. Yes, I know a few of you are trying out Schoology. I will go there in just a minute. So yes, we work with Schoology. So let's click, if you are going to use Google Classroom, this is not if you use Schoology. If you're using Schoology, do not do this. Google Classroom Sync. You're going to choose your Google account and sign in. Now here's where this is where you'll just want to pay close attention to, you're going to merge classes. So when I click here, I have this math, Zoom bar. I have a math period 1 and I want this class to come into formative. So I'm going to click on that math period 1. I have 2 choices. I can import it as a new class, or this is what you want to do. You want to link it to the ClassLink class that's already been created for you. So for example, this math period 1, it might be my friend's class. I'm just going to link it to that class and then hit import at the bottom. If you are one of the people who is trying out Schoology this year, you do not need to do anything further. Everything is set up for you with the ClassLink classes.
I don't have that Google Classroom link. Mine just has the top menu, the formative classes, and then I have my classes on there, but the Google Classroom sync is not on there.
I've never seen that before. Try refreshing, which I'm guessing you have. And then I don't know if it could potentially be, oh, I know what it is. Sometimes it'll say, like, sometimes it's a little bit different. Is there a button over here that says something about syncing? I think if there is, you can click that. Yeah, I'll do it one more time. There's something about like syncing classes. Some people have slightly different interfaces for some reason. And then if you click on it, it gives you the option to choose either Clever or Google Classroom.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. And they're saying also it could be because you're not full screen because you're trying to do both.
Okay.
So you may need to go to both. So let me go through this again. We're going to hit the Google Classroom sync. You're going to choose the class that you need to sync. You're going to see 2 options. Well, it's going to come up as import as new class as the default. I don't want to import it as a new class. I want to link it to an existing class. So I'm going to choose the class that I want to link it to. and then I import at the bottom.
Excuse me, I have a question.
Sure.
Now, you can only do this if you already have classes set up in Google, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
So-
That's my problem.
Gotcha. So Raven has put the help article in the chat, and I actually am going to give you a slide deck at the end of this with a GIF on exactly how to do this. So if it's just, if you don't have your classes set up, or, you're trying to look between two screens, don't worry. It'll all be set up for you, and you'll have plenty of directions. And yes, there are many students I know who are still moving around. It'll automatically update. We do sync with ClassLink every night. If you do need to resync that class because something has changed in Google Classroom, things are going on, you can just click right next to the class and just hit sync, and it will resync your class. So I would recommend doing that like the night before school starts, to make sure everything is up and fresh. But I wanted to show you kind of the orientation to the Google Classroom versus the ClassLink. Schoology folks, you're going to be using those ClassLink classes. Your students will sign in through ClassLink. Actually, they'll go through Schoology. They'll be in Schoology, and they'll just click on the link, and I'll show you how to post that as well. All right, so I'm going to go on to the next section because that's where I really want to spend the bulk of the time. But like I said, you are going to get your the presentation at the end with very clear instructions. All right, so we're going to move to the Formatives tab. And at this point, I actually just want you to focus on my screen, please. If you do have your classes synced and you have classes in there, they will be at the top. This is what we call kind of the dashboard, the landing page. This is where you're going to see the most in one screenshot of what you have in Formative. You have your classes all across here. It'll tell you if they're Google or not. You have your sorting options for Formatives. So I can sort by name, date I created them, date I updated them. I can choose to view only the ones that have been assigned or unassigned. I can search for Formatives by name. And then when I go over here, I can either add a folder or a formative. I do recommend using folders so that you can keep yourself a little bit organized with all of the formatives you're going to be giving. The only caution per se I will tell you is that if you have a folder and you move a formative into a folder that you have a collaborator on, and I know this is a lot. I've shared this with Jill, let's say. Make sure that whoever you've shared that formative with has privileges in your folder as well. Again, it will give you an alert, so no worries there. All of your formatives and your folders are over here on the left. Folders always appear at the top. And then once your students start taking yes, you may have, your page needs a little love right now. Once your students start taking formatives, you're going to see, I have a lot of folders, all of this pop up. So these are icons for you to know what's going on. This is the number of students who've submitted it. This is if it's open or not, if you've returned scores, and fabulous, teacher-friendly, informative is if you hover over it, it'll tell you what it means. So you don't need to memorize all of these. You can also assign formatives from here. So it's not the first line of way we do it, but if you just click next to a formative, I can click on this class and all of my assign options will come up. All right, so let's go ahead and make a formative. And again, I'm going to demonstrate this part and give you a chance to practice in just a little bit. So I'm going to click plus new formative. The first thing you want to do when you add a new formative is give it a title. So I'm going to say this is Berkeley Secondary, August. I don't even know the date anymore. Oh, it's my anniversary. It's the 12th. All right, August 12th. And then if you want to, for students, you can add instructions. You can say, use textbook page whatever to complete this, or do this on what page, or any of your instructions you might want to do. Also, those of you who may have students who have accommodations of sort, might need an audio or a video, you can add that in here. This blue plus sign, we like to call it where the magic happens, because when you click this, you can add any of these types of content. And you're going to see this plus sign in the question types, in the answer types, answer choices, lots of options here. So if I wanted to, I could read things aloud. I could embed other sites, use emojis, images, etc. Math teachers, science teachers, anyone who might need a latex math keyboard, we do have one. If you click on math and you delete it, you have access to all of these symbols. And this is powered by KTEX. It is a latex keyboard, but it is powered by KTEX, so it is whatever they provide us at this time. There are also some shortcuts as well. So if you want to learn those, we do have an article about latex that can help you out with that. All right, so let's add a question. You're going to see this plus sign right here. And I'm going to add a question to this. When you click that plus sign, it's like the world opens up, right? I can see all the different types of content that I can add. So I can add audio, I can add other sites, images, text blocks, videos, and I can even do a whiteboard, which is live and interactive. So if I am writing on the whiteboard, the students can see in real time everything I'm writing. So if you are in person, which I'm assuming most of you are at this point or will be, if you're in person, you can have the students with their laptops or devices at their desks, and they can actually watch you do everything right as you do it within the whiteboard. These are our 13 question types. And then we have a couple of options down here that I'll mention as we go through. But I want to start just with some basics here. So I'm going to start with a multiple choice question. So I click multiple choice. I'm going to type my question in, which is simple, which sentence is written correctly? Then I'm going to give my answer choices. All right, I live in Rockford, Illinois. I live in Rockford, Illinois. And then you can add as many as you want. I live in, oops, I'm misspelling live. This is a nice morning here. All right, I live in Rockford, Illinois. You can add as many as you want. You just keep adding the options. Very important, you do want to give it an answer key. So I will click the answer key here. That will auto grade for me. And it will auto grade in real time. So you'll see it pop up on your view responses right as the students respond. If you forget to add an answer key, or if you make an error and you add the wrong answer key, fabulously, Formative will allow you to go back, update the answer key, and it will re-auto grade it for you. You can randomize the order to reduce cheating. And if it were something in which it would be helpful for students to show their work, you can toggle on show your work, which just allows students to have basically a whiteboard. Eventually, you'll be tagging standards, but that is not part of the beginner session. But eventually, you'll be tagging standards, and easily to do. You just tag them by keyword. So I'm just going to use the word capitalize. Oops, capita. Well, it's early, isn't it? All right, capitalize. And then I choose the standard that I want. If you try to do this on your own, you probably don't have any standards yet, and I will make sure you get that information, but I don't want to overwhelm you with too much the first day. All right, so the next question I want to add is a matching question type. And this matching question type allows for auto grading with all of your matching. Something that's pretty cool about this is that you can use again, audio, images, Google Images, so many different options so that you don't have to do it all on your own. I'm going to ask students to match each coin with its value. I do understand that in secondary, this is probably not what you're working on, but I love this example because it shows you how easy it is to create and set up this problem or this question. So I'm going to add an image here. And I'm just going to use a Google image. This is a safe search, so you shouldn't have any issues with things that are not appropriate popping up. But this is on the student or on the teacher side only. The students do not have access to the Google search. So I click here. I want that quarter. And there I go. When you do a matching question, the most frequent question that I get is, mine didn't auto grade correctly. And the reason for that is because you need to set it up as an answer key, and then Formative will do the work for randomizing for you. So I'm going to click the next item and do 10 cents. I want a dime. grab that dime. And you'll see that the dime is the same size as the quarter. I don't want that. So I'm just going to make it smaller by clicking on the image and making it small. You can add as many matching as you would like. I mean, you can do a whole, some people do a whole formative with just matching, just one big long formative of matching, but you want to make sure that the ones that you want to group together are all in one matching question. Do not make a matching question for each thing that you want to match. All right, so remember, you do not need to randomize these. You do want this to be the answer key. I am going to allow for partial credit on this. So if they get 1 right, 2 right, they can get partial credit. And I don't need them to show their work. I could tag a standard if I wanted to with, I'm going to do $, and I have that standard. Now let's say that I want to see what it looks like to the student. I'm going to click up here at the top at this eye. This is the student preview. So when I click on the eye, I can see what it looks like for a student on their phone or like a small mobile device, a tablet, and also on a Chromebook. Okay, so within the Chromebook option, which I'm guessing most, I feel like that's what you all use. It does give them that full screen, but if they're at home and they're doing on their phones, they still have full access and they can view everything. You can interact with this, so you can answer the question. And you'll see here that we did randomize these for you. All right, so I want to show you one more question type, and then I'm going to show you how to import what you already have. And then I'm going to give you a little time to play around with it yourself so we can see if any questions arise. So the next question I'm going to add is a show your work question. Show your work can be a question in and of itself, or it can be an add-on or a toggle on for any question type you have. So as a math teacher myself, I would have probably done a lot of multiple choice or short answer or numeric, and then toggled on show your work so that it auto grades, but you still have to show your work. So for this one though, I'm going to be a social studies teacher. I'm going to edit the background. Sorry, I did that very quickly. Let me go back. You'll see right here, I'm going to edit the background of this particular show your work block. Language arts teachers, you might want to put in a reading passage. You know, students can annotate all over the reading passage. Anyone who's into close activities or anything where you want the student to actually write on a document or write in a blank space, this is the option for you. You can type. So I could choose, to type something like this. If I did that, I could type a sentence with incorrect grammar. The student have to edit it, or they can edit whatever I write. Anything that I put as a background here, the student is not able to edit, but they can write on top of. So I'm going to choose this image icon right here. When I choose the image icon, I'm going to set a background. And for me, I want to choose a US map. So I'm going to choose from my drive. Course. It seems that I just got kicked out of my account, by the way, so that's special. Let's just see here. Yes, it just kicked me out of my account. So let me just add a Google image here. Blank US map. All right, so I'm going to choose this one right here. And by adding that image in, now the students are able to actually write right on top of this image, which is just so awesome, because now I can ask them 15 questions if I want to. I can ask them to do, let's say I'm going to ask them to put a star on Texas, or I'm going to ask them to circle New York. They can write right on top of this. So I click this blue check mark to get out of it. And if you don't, it's okay, but that's the easiest way to get out. And I'm going to ask them to do 3 things. I'm going to say, put a star on Texas. Circle the state whose capital is Richmond. Then when the student sees it, I'm going to go to that student preview right here. They will click show your work. The questions come up here, and then they can draw right on top of it. So they can choose their color, they can choose their thickness. For highlighting, it is opacity, so they would just move it all the way to light and make it very big. And they can draw and circle and so on. You'll be able to see everything they do live, and you can draw on top of their drawings as well. All right, so the last thing that I want to demo for you within this formative is how to bring in your own content. And some of you were nice and early this morning, and I mentioned you might want to find something you'd like to use. So I'm going to click the plus sign and choose to enhance something that I already have. Yours might look a little different. All right, if you do not see this where it says enhance a PDF doc, image, or Google Doc, yours is going to say document over here. We are doing a little bit of beta testing right now, and I'm pretty sure everybody has this, but just in case, you would choose to add a document from over here. I'm going to click here. And I just want to grab something that I already have. I've been using this for years. I don't want to reinvent the wheel. So let me go ahead and grab, and I'm sorry, I have to go in my documents because my Drive is having some issues today. So let me grab my Mickey Mouse. All right, so here's my PDF. You can upload up to 25 pages at a time. So high school teachers who are like super prepared and they've got like all of their work laid out for a unit, you can put it all in one if you want to. You can upload up to 25 pages as many times as you want. There is no limit. It's just that there is a limit on the amount we can do at once. So I'm going to add that in. It does load in as an image. So if you have used Formative in the past, this is all updated now. You can tag questions on anything. You can tag it on images, on PDFs, on presentations, slides, any of those types of things. But it will appear as an image. I want to get this worksheet auto-graded. So I'm going to click on top of it, add a multiple choice question. You have secondary, so I'm just going to click the answer choice. I'm not even going to write in the answer. And the question's there to be auto-graded for you. I might want to add a little audio. Let's say that I have some students who need an audio. They need something read aloud. So let's say that I would like this question here. I'm going to click here. And I'm going to make it a short answer. But I'm concerned that my student needs a read aloud. I'm going to click right here. Remember that plus sign is where I can add all of these types of content. I'm going to add audio. Who is Mickey's girlfriend? I add that in, and now the student just clicks on it and they can hear that read aloud. With the short answer, we do offer partial match or keyword grading. So for this one, I'm going to do Minnie. I'm not going to do Minnie Mouse, but students can write Minnie. They can write Minnie Mouse. They can write Mickey's girlfriend is Minnie Mouse. They can write a dissertation about Minnie Mouse, but as long as Minnie is in the answer, it will be marked correct if I toggle this on right here. So I want to allow partial match. I can also make it case sensitive since this is a proper noun and I want to make sure they know it's a proper noun. I can make it case sensitive. If they make it a lowercase Minnie, it will not count. And again, you can toggle show your work anywhere. All right, so I've just thrown a whole bunch of information at you. And so I want to give you a chance to digest it all and to give it a try. So if you can, if you're comfortable splitting your screen or going to the other screen and just listening, I would love for you to go to your dashboard and click plus new formative. So go to your dashboard and click plus new formative right here. Yes, you can upload from Word. Sorry, I'm so used to using the chat, but I know that Jill and Raven are there to answer. Click plus new formative. We're going to give it a title. So I'm just going to go with Summer PD Practice. And I'd like to give you about, I don't know, 7 minutes or so, 5 to 7 minutes, so that you can try adding some content. If you are at the beginning stages and you just want to add a couple questions of your choosing here, give it a try, play around with it. If you are feeling a bit more, advanced, shall we say, try and upload something you already have and tag some questions. Add an image. Go in there and play with the Google images. If you're ready to, you can even go in and search from the library, but this is your chance to kind of play around with it. I encourage you while you do that to ask questions in the chat, and also to, or you can unmute if you want to, and also to look at it as a student. Look at it, interact. We find that educators who take the chance to really play around with it during PD feel much more comfortable going on your own afterwards. So I do want to give you a solid 5 to 7 minutes now, and then we'll come back together and talk about assigning.
I was just trying to do a multiple choice question with one correct answer. How could I do that?
A multiple choice question with what, with one correct answer?
More than one correct.
Oh.
So when I click on the
So you want to use, sorry, you're breaking up. You're going to want to use the multiple selection.
I'm sorry. Okay, thank you.
Sorry, you were breaking up a little bit. I hope that helps. So
It is. Thank you.
With the partial match, if I wanted to have students have like 2 different words as a correct answer or include in their response, do I just have them as like put in 2 correct answers and then it'll only mark it totally correct if they put in both?
no. So what you would have to do is with the partial match, if you want them to have 2 words, they have to be 2 words together, unfortunately. So it would have to be like if you were saying, I have a dream, like you want them to mark the I have a dream speech, it has to have I have a dream, you would type I have a dream. But I can't just put I and dream. So
if I had put in like 2 correct answers with a partial match, it's marked correct if they put in either of the 2 things?
correct.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. So generally what I recommend in this case is if you're looking for them to have both is to put one, actually do what you just did, what you said, put both, and then you can manually override when you see everybody, you're going to see everybody's responses come in at once. And then you can just take a look and click all the kids who have the other one and then manually override that grade all at once. So you'll be able to toggle, you can do 50 kids at once. But we can only do 1 word or 1 phrase to get that partial match at this time.
All right, thank you.
I will tell you also with the multiple select, since somebody was working on that one, the partial credit with multiple select gives a little bit of credit for each one that's correct, and it takes away credit for each one that's incorrect. That way students can't just mark all of them and get 100%. So if that happens, like if I were to do this, I would actually get 0 points for this question because I got 2 correct, but I lost 2 points also. So that's kind of how that partial credit works. And you can learn more about that with the info. It'll tell you exactly how it's graded. That's a great question. I apologize if I say your name incorrectly. Lene, I'm hoping. What I do when I'm doing surveys is I actually make them worth 0 points. So for me, I would do, like, a lot of times with educators, I'm doing a survey about like what grade level. Like right now I could ask your content area. So, which content area do you teach? And I know that people teach more than one content area. So what I usually do is I make it worth 0 points right here. So I would click on the point value and make it 0 so that they're not marked right or wrong. And then I would choose the content areas that are most similar, or the ones that I'm kind of trying to figure out, like, who is it that likes this and who is it who doesn't? And then I would do, let's see, ELA, I'm going to go social studies now. And then I would click the 2 that I'm looking for right now. Because then when I go to view responses, I can see everybody who falls into math science, and then everybody who is not marked as correct falls into anything at, like, left, right? Then I can go back and just edit my screen and change it. And then those responses are immediately going to update. So I can see that. And then the other thing is I can break it down by, when you see the results, which you'll see very soon when we take the formative, you're able to see how many said math, how many said science, how many said ELA, and how many said social studies in a nice bar graph. And you can even respond to everybody who said the same thing in one really quick response with feedback. So that's kind of where I go with those types of questions, where I'm just trying to survey. I just give it 0 points so that nobody's like penalized per se. And then I just play around with the answer key so I can get the information that I need. Yay, I said it right. After submitting the test, the kids get live feedback. We're going to talk about feedback in just a moment. And it has been about 7 minutes, so I'm going to move. There was also a question that I wanted to address too. Can you choose specific students to access the audio only? And I saw that my colleagues jumped right in and said no. However, something that I do recommend, and I just want to show you if you're ready, making a copy. Just make a copy. You get the exact same formative. Make a copy, add the audio, and then you can choose who you want to assign which one to. You can choose that you want to assign it to individual students. So I saw that one of my colleagues said something about, you can make different formatives, which is absolutely correct. But to make it super easy, just make a copy, add your modifications, accommodations, go from there. Also, something I did not talk about much on the classes page, but I think a couple of you noticed it, is that we do offer a co-teacher option. So with the co-teacher option, anyone who is a co-teacher on your class is able to view the data assigned to your class. They can do all that. So if you do have a interventionist, special ed, ELO, someone like that, they can also make those copies and assign to those students as well. All right, so I do want to keep rolling here because I want to make sure that we get to everything. So if you wouldn't mind coming back to where I am here on the screen. So we have made this formative. I promise nobody even has my phone number. All right. We have made this formative and we're ready to assign it. One thing that I do recommend doing to make sure that you can easily filter your data. So I saw someone talking about doing surveys. I have teachers who use this for daily check-ins. I have teachers who use this for videos, assigning audio, exit tickets, entry tickets, all of those types of things. If you would like to, I recommend setting a formative type right here. So in this triple dot menu, I recommend setting a formative type. And the reason is because I want to be able to filter my data. So if I give a homework assignment, I want to filter it by homework. I don't want my homework put in with my tests and my quizzes. And if you take the time to do this, when you go to your tracker, you can then filter by the assignment type. This is particularly helpful when you're doing standards-based grading and when you're working on report cards, interims, etc. You can pull out the high stakes. All right, so I'm going to click done there. And I'm going to go ahead and assign this formative. So I'm in the formative, I'm going to assign, and this is where it is slightly different. So for those of you who are Google Classroom, you're going to click next to the class and you'll see at the bottom that it will say assign and post to Google. You absolutely want to choose this option if you plan to do grade pass back with Google. All right, so you would click next to the class. It has to have that G. So if you synced it with Google, you'll get that option. It will pop up with assign and post to Google. If you are one of my Schoology folks, you're going to click next to the class, and that option will not pop up. Okay, it will not pop up. But everybody will then go to this adjust settings. And if you are a Schoology person, it's going to say at the top here, launch in Schoology. It will default to that if you are set up with Schoology, and I have already given that information to get Schoology set up in your district. So you will be assigning this from Schoology, and I will give you, I'll give you more, don't worry, but it will look just like this, only it'll say launch in Schoology. So you're going to require that launch, because if the students do not launch it in Schoology, you will not be able to pass grades back. So I've selected my classes. And remember, if I have that Google class, I have that assign and post to Google. These are all of the options, and I'm not going to overwhelm you with all of the different things that you can do, but a couple of things to take note of if you've used Formative in the past, and we do now have a teacher-paced mode. This is brand new. Teacher-paced mode means that just that. You will launch the teacher-paced mode. The students can only see what you allow them to see. So you can go from question 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. This is awesome for your summatives and also for your lesson delivery. So teacher-paced mode is here. You can restrict to individual students. So this is what I was talking about earlier. In this particular case, this is only appropriate for Chandler and Phoebe. So I'm going to choose them. They are the only students who will get this formative. You can schedule open and close times. You can choose a time limit. The time limit does automatically cut them off at that time. So while scheduling open and close times is more like a due date and when you want them to access it, the time limit from the time they log in, from the time they click on the formative, open the formative, it will cut them off and say your time is up at the end of that time limit. And then you have options for what you want to have happen after. And there were some people asking about when do they get feedback, when do they get scores. So these are where you can set those options. If this is a summative assessment and you're concerned about like test integrity, please just make it hidden. We want to make it hidden, and then you can always change that later. You can always update to return scores later, but right now you would want to make it hidden. Otherwise, you can allow edits and you can keep it visible so the students can go in and view it, but they're not editing their work. And then we have options here as well for returning scores and returning correct answers. You can also randomize. Secure exam browser is not a part of what we have with Berkeley right now, so we're not going to worry about that one. And then we hit assign. Remember, Google folks, you would be doing assign and post to Google. Because I didn't set open and close times, this set up right there. It is ready to go. It is in their Google Stream. The one thing I'll tell you is with Google Classroom, sometimes there's a 3 to 5 minute off with the open and close time. So you might want to, kind of give a little padding for that. You won't need any of this information for your students because they'll be accessing it in Schoology or in Google Classroom. All right, so I would like to give you just a short break, but it's going to be in tandem with having you take this formative. So right here, I'm going to go back to my slideshow and present this. I can see people starting to stretch and we need to move around a little bit. I get it. So what we're going to do is I'm going to give you until 10 o'clock. So we have 11 minutes here to take this formative and also just take a little break, get some water, stand up. The way that this works is you go to your dashboard and you'll see at the top right where it says enter quick code. You're going to enter this code here. And someone will put that in the chat as well. Please make mistakes. I want this to be a true vision of what you're going to see from your students. You are a student. I want you to make errors so I can show you how easy it is to grade those errors. So if you can, please, in the next 11 minutes, take this formative and take just a little bit of a stretching break, and then we'll come back to talk about responses and the library.
Hey, Sarah, I think you're muted.
I am. I'm actually just showing you what I can do. Sorry, thank you for that. I'm actually just I should have put my picture back on. I'm just throwing some things out here so you can take a look if you're ready to come back. I was just giving everybody another minute here. Sending some feedback to some people so you can see it. All right, so let's go ahead and come back together. I would like to just go through a few of these, how to use the shapes. No, you shouldn't need to make the shapes. You should be able to click on it. Like for the tangrams, that's an external activity, but I'll show it to you here in a moment. That's from, I want to say GeoGebra. I love it. All right, so if you can please come back to my screen, and I know some of you have not yet submitted, and that's okay. I'm going to be leaving it open for you. I want to show you the kind of the orientation of what it's going to look like for you when student results start coming in. So when I look here, this is the view responses. So here's where we edited. This is where we were, adding questions, creating it, and I can go back and edit it anytime. So even though you all are in the formative, I can hop in there and add more questions if I want to, or change the answer key. This is where we assigned it. And then here's our responses. So it's all within one. I'm going to go to that totals. So I'm in the totals view. I did hide your name. So if you want to show this like up on your board or, on your Zoom call or, however you're delivering your instruction, you can hide the name so that nobody can see it. You can export this data. You can sort it. So if you are doing this for students, I recommend sorting it randomly so that they don't, Andy Aardvark isn't always at the top. And because we do have students doing things different class periods, doing things late, I also like to do submission date so that I can keep an eye on the new submissions that come in. They'll pop up to the top. So as people submit, they'll pop up to the top. The percentage, if you are a points person, you can go with points instead of percent. Now I've set my colors myself. You can set your own as well by going into your settings, which are up here in the top right. So if you decide you want to set up your own points and thresholds and colors, you can do that yourself. But basically, you can set it up by your A, B, C, D, F. You can do approaching mastery, mastered, exceeded mastery, however you work within your grading system to do the colors and get the data you're looking for. So I saw somebody asking about if we could have somebody redo it. You absolutely can. So if I click on the person's name and I decide, this isn't what I was looking for, I can click on this triple dot right here. And I have a few options. I can grade the empty responses as 0. So they didn't respond to anything. I'm just going to click this. Everything they didn't respond to is a 0. We're done. I can print their responses. I can remove their responses. And then I can undo their submission. So what I might do is undo it and then remove it and ask them to start over. But I also might just undo it and they can just work off of what they did. So if you have students who submitted kind of not great quality work, you might just want to undo it and ask them to take another look. All right, so grading tips and tricks as I go in here, number 1. And your high school teachers, you probably have a lot of students who are taking these assignments. So you're going to have that long list just like mine. What I've done here is you're going to default to this view right here. This is the card view. And you're going to see that Venus, Earth, they've been marked incorrect, right? So the reason for that is because I did not want to give every single option when I was making this assessment. I'm a teacher, I'm busy, I don't have time to give all 9 or 8 options. So what I did was I only gave Jupiter. So when I go to the responses, I can see that these are all marked wrong. Well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to click Earth. I'm going to give this one student credit. When I do that, it says, do you want to add this response to the answer key? I do. Now watch what happens to all the other earths over here when I give that credit. I say yes, and all the earths are now marked correct. In addition to that, it's on my answer key now. So if I give this to subsequent class periods, subsequent years, they're in my answer key. I don't need to worry about it in the future. So Venus is correct, add, moving on. Pluto, not correct, but I'll give half credit because I like it. And I actually did not specify that it had to be this, like the size of a planet. It is a dwarf, so it's possible. And then I can add these. And after I do that, if I go back here to edit, you're going to see that in my edit screen, these are options now. So it will grade this correctly going forward. We can talk about grades in PowerSchool here in just a little bit, hopefully at the end. All right, so this was for you to try out Show Your Work. If you want to draw on top of a student's work, so for example, I see that this one is not correct. So this one, I'm supposed to draw a star on the stage whose capital is Richmond. You can draw feedback right on top of their work. I click Draw Feedback, and then I would just draw right on top of it. I saw somebody asking about shapes. These are the only two shapes right now. And oops, I actually don't want that. I want to draw a star. So I'm going to go to the drawing, scribble, and then draw a star where I want it. Hit the check mark. And then I want to send, I have two options, and this is new. So if you've used Formative, this is brand new. You can either send it now, which means that the student gets access to the feedback and the test question. But if this is a summative or you're worried about test integrity, you want to wait until you close that assignment, and then all of the feedback goes to the student. So I'm going to send it now, and whoever the student is, you should get a pop-up in this bell icon right here. And it's going to show you exactly what I sent. And this is what your students get as well. You will get feedback from your students right here. I just don't have any right now. Anyone who's on is welcome to send me a message. But they will get that whether you want to do it instant or delayed. If it is delayed, it's when you close the assignment. So there's still that test integrity. For grading ones like this that do not auto grade, I did see a question about, will the Show Your Work auto grade? It does not, unless it is an auto graded question that you toggle on Show Your Work. So let me just choose a bunch that are correct. I can see right off the top here that these are correct. I'm going to choose all the ones that are correct. Oh, whoops, I missed, sorry. And then I can give them off. Okay, I'm missing right now, which is unfortunate. You do have to click in the bubble. I'm hoping for improvements in that soon. If you click in the bubble, all the ones that are correct, slide it over, they all get the same credit. You can also give them all the same feedback. And they don't know that they all got the same feedback. There is no student collaboration right now in Formative. All right, so I just sent that to a bunch of you. You should have just gotten a pop-up in your notification window. And then something I like to do, a little just trick for me, when I'm grading Show Your Work, I do points low to high. I sort by points low to high because what I can do is everybody who I haven't graded yet is going to pop to the top, and that makes it easier for me to grade it fast. So I know that I haven't graded these yet. I'm going to put this here, slide it over, and then those go to the bottom, and everybody who I haven't graded yet comes to the top. Number 3, this is a multiple choice question. Somebody was asking about like the survey. What I recommend is switching to what we have as a table mode. So right here in the top right, you'll see table mode. See how that switches? I know it's really tiny. It's just like a bar graph. But now I can send group feedback to everybody. So I can click here and see everybody who put letter C. They will all show up here, and I can say, let's say I want to send an emoji. So I'm going to click that plus sign. You can send any of these things. So maybe you want to send a video of the next lesson. Maybe you want to embed another remedial activity for them. They didn't do so well. Maybe they need extension. You can send any of those right here. I'm just going to send an emoji that they did a great job, and I'm sending it instantly. So those of you who did this should get that exact feedback right now. Again, you can do that here with the A's and the B's. I have student names hidden, but you would be able to see the student name that way. Number 4, Same thing, I happen to have this in table mode. If I decided that I wanted to accept something that was not given, like I'm not sure why this one didn't take, I'm just gonna go ahead and give it credit, add it to the key, and then it'll go ahead and grab it. I did have this on case sensitivity, so maybe I wanna give half credit for everybody who put it like this. I'm just gonna pick those people up really quickly. I see you all trying to outsmart me here. I'm gonna pick those people up really quickly and give them half credit and tell them that they should capitalize it. It's a proper noun. Number 5, I wanted to show you this one so you could see that what's going to happen is it is going to be auto-graded. But what I see here is some people did the work but didn't answer the question. All right, so this gives you a little bit of data on what's going on as far as the whole question, but what it starts with, what I love, is it starts out with auto grading it. So I know I'm actually going to do this points high to low because I'm going to see who my people are, like this one who got it right, but might be using a calculator. They did not show their work. So I'm going to grab everybody. And yes, I was a math teacher. So I am that math teacher who goes through and got the answer right, but did not show me work. By doing that, I can give everybody half credit and send everybody the same, don't forget to show your work at the same time. There is not a way to do feedback on a whole assessment at this time. What I recommend is doing a feedback question with 0 points at the end. That's an awesome option because if you want to, you can also do feedback by going through each individual student instead of looking at it as all of the responses at once. You have those 2 options. So I very often will add a rubric at the end that I complete, or I will add like as a background on show your work, or I will just add a question that says, please see here for feedback. All right, so I'm going to go through these in just a little bit. These were questions to kind of see what I need to do next because we are with you for the year and you do have more PD opportunities coming up. People were asking about this one. This is an advanced feature. Jill or Raven, can you please put the article about embedding in the chat? If you are really big into things like GeoGebra, Didax math manipulatives, love that. Desmos calculator, Edpuzzle, all of those can be embedded right into Formative, and there's a couple of steps to it. So we want to make sure that you have the article to learn how to do it. But let me show you, for those of you who were saying, I can't get the pieces to move. You just click on it, and most of these sites give you an option to go with, you can either open it in the app or you can make it full screen, which of course this one's not allowing me to do right now. Usually I just make it full screen. So that's really weird that it's not allowing me to do that, but usually it does. I will have to check into this one. It could be oh, here it is. See that right there? Make it full screen. And then I can actually move all the pieces around and play with them that way. You might want to kind of do a little tutorial with your students on how to do that for different sites if you plan to use them often. But there's some really cool sites out there that you can embed right in, and it gives students, it gives them equal access. I love it for science experiments. And I know that that does not at all replace kids using microscopes and things like that. But when you would like for your students to be able to build circuits, and especially right now where we're trying to all socially distance, there are some amazing sites for building circuits where they can actually make the circuit themselves, take a screenshot, insert it, talk about it, and really do an experiment all right online and within a Formative. All right, so we are almost out of time. So I do need to show you the library. I'm gonna hop over here to the library, and there are 2 things I wanna show you. Number 1, this is your library. It will default to the public library. In addition to having a public library, when you hit these filters right here, you're gonna have one that says Berkeley 01, that is your district library. And then you're gonna have a library for any schools or teams that you're associated with. Publishing to the library is very simple. It's in the share menu. It's very easy. So it's definitely something you can play around with when you're ready to, but it is for collaborative purposes. But what I want to show you right now is how to go in and get a Formative from the private library, because that's where your coordinators are going to be pushing these out from. So what I would love for you to do is to go to library, if you could please. If you can go to the library tab, and this is the last thing I'm going to do with you, so hang on with me for 30 more seconds. Go to the library tab, And you're going to go to the filters. And I'm trying to add myself to your org really quickly so I can show you. Go to the filters and choose Berkeley 01. Let me see if it got it. We're going to go to Berkeley 01. Oh, it did. And then the other filter I want you to choose is third grade. And I know you're secondary, but there's a reason for this. Go to third grade and choose other for your content or your subject. When you do that, you should find this formative that I've planted here for you. All right, it is called the Student Formative Tutorial. I recommend assigning this to your students when they first start using Formative, because what it is it is full of all of the different question types for them to try out so they can learn how to use the platform before it is a high stakes test of some form. So what you'll do is there should be a plus sign here, which means that you can take it to your library. If you click on it, you can preview it. I apologize. Let me see. Oh, this is new too. And then you can take it and it's your copy. This is your formative to do what you want with. This is your formative now. There is not, for this particular one, I did not lock it down. For the formatives that are coming from your coordinators, they're going to make them common assessments and you will not be able to edit them. But anything you take from the library that is not published as a common assessment, you can take, it's yours, you edit it, it's all yours to edit and assign as you like. All right, we are out of time. In fact, I went over 2 minutes and I really thank you for hanging in there with me. I am going to stop the recording and I welcome those of you who are done to head out and enjoy your day, hopefully get lots done. We do have a help center, contact formative support, so that you know here in this question mark, lots of articles, and here is where you can reach our customer support 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern time. We usually respond within an hour or two, but we do have a 24-hour turnaround just in case. All right. Thank you all so much. Have an awesome day and let us know, any questions you come up with. We're here to help you. I see a question in here. Did I stop? Let me stop the recording here. I see a question about co-teacher.